doesn't matter. Usually you only fill terms when somebody has to,
Right.
leaves the city or, moves to South Rushford and the RME has to replace them.
When there's a true vacancy
Yeah,
that exists.
yeah. But
Or
it
even in
certainly,
anticipation of a vacancy, if you have the position filled, which would be the best, you would fill those prior to the end of the year. I
Yeah.
think I guess they were just willing and wanted to get ahead of the power curve, so.
We do this every year before the end of the year because January, I have my meeting before you do, and I need people approved. And we have our annual meeting in November 5th, and that's when we like to know what's going on. And we do this every year, this time of year.
But you don't need to talk to me about it when the mayor makes the appointments. I mean, we learned that back in January.
You make the appointments. How you get to that appointment is usually up to the board.
And citizens can apply also, like Bob Sparks applied for the Open Electric Commission.
Right.
We put it on the agenda and it was acted upon.
Yes, but I did ask him to apply. Is my point.
but it also fills the vacancy. So here there really isn't a vacancy, but I don't necessarily see any reason that we couldn't act on it tonight to ease the decision-making process for the library board.
All right, you take your motion back?
I'll remove.
That's fine by me too.
So then
So what does the council wish to, what's the council's pleasure?
I'll move to approve these two people to be sitting on the library board.
Second. Motion by Mr. Dahl, second by Mr. Hansi. Any other question or comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I can understand your position, Chris,
Well,
but I think
yeah, I don't
just
think this, I don't like how this is handled. I should not walk up here and say, oh, really?
But you did have it since Thursday.
But I wasn't approached before putting it on the agenda. Like I said, I don't think that's appropriate. That's my opinion. Let's move on to 8E.
Chris, one thing
That's fine.
to go with that, I guess, I don't have a problem with putting somebody on, but going to the future, I wish that if you did have an open position, or somebody coming up for a potential open position, that the public would be notified, in case you have somebody else that wants to be on the board too.
We put a notice on the desk that we have an opening coming up,
I didn't know
and
that.
we run it for 3 months,
Okay,
It's not.
and we did.
You don't post it in the papers, though.
No.
That's fine, let's move on. On to 8E, consideration of entry into a loan agreement with USDA Rural Development for funding of the City Hall, former liquor store, building project at a cost of $200,000. Lori Schmidt, Area Specialist, Rural Development, will attend the meeting to review the letter of conditions and all the forms required to be executed and signed. Documents requiring immediate action include letter of intent, request for obligation, and the loan resolution. See attached USDA letter and staff report. Welcome.
Thank you.
Back to Rushford.
Well, we've got a lot to go through, and I'll try to make it as painless as possible. There's some things that I'm going to read verbatim, and then there's going to be some things that I'll just kind of paraphrase. So if you have any questions as we're going along, please stop me and ask any questions. Here's the formal letter for the city. I'll give that to you. And then I have some forms that,
this is what you had in your packets.
Right.
yes, that's the letter of condition. I also, there was a owner-architect agreement that was, signed. Can you give that to the architect as well?
Yes.
Okay, so, get that out of the way. So basically, this is a letter of conditions. This is, will all need to be agreed to by the city if you choose to, enter into a loan agreement with rural development. And so, we'll basically start at the top. The loan will be administered on behalf of the Rural Housing Service by the state and area staff of USDA Rural Development. Any changes in project cost, source of funds, scope of services, or any other significant changes in the project or applicant must be reported to and approved by USDA Rural Development Community Facility personnel, referred to as RD in the balance of this letter. Approval will be by written amendment to this letter. Any changes not approved by RD may be cause for discontinuing processing of the application. This letter is not to be considered as loan or grant approval or as representation of the availability of funds. Just a little caveat, because I'm here, the funds are ready and waiting for you. But things happen. So that is in the letter, just to make sure that you understand that. There's a couple of forms that will need to be signed and returned because of the fact that the end of our funding year is Friday. You don't really have a whole lot of time to debate about it. You pretty much have to sign tonight, or just reject the loan. So those two forms are the letter of intent to meet conditions, which is basically this letter, and then the request for obligation of funds. And so that would be sent to our state office, and that is what we would submit so that you are, your funding is locked in. You have 180 days to meet the letter of conditions, and that would put it to March 23rd. And basically, we wouldn't be worried about that date. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't meet that time frame, because you're already pretty close to that point. Extra copies of this letter would be provided to your architect, attorney, bond counsel, and accountant. And there are regulations that are referenced in this letter. There is a website available for you to check out the regulations if you'd like. So further processing of your loan will be done under the following conditions. We'll go to the second page, number 1. The total project cost, we have set aside $200,000 for the City Hall project. Construction is anticipated to be $165,000, architectural fees $27,500, equipment $6,000, legal fees $5,000, and project contingency is $16,500. That totals $220,000. We would obligate a grant for $200,000. The applicant contribution would be $20,000, and that would be from the sale of equipment in the liquor store. If the liquor store equipment sells for less, then the city would be responsible for that $20,000 regardless. So because basically we have the $200,000 set aside. The loan or the project will be put up for bids after the money has been obligated. And if the bids are higher or lower, we'll just have to readjust these figures a little bit, the project's figures. You still have $200,000. If you choose to borrow the full $200,000, that's up to you. If you happen to need more, then we'll have to figure that out.